Hey everyone, my name is Callie. I'm an R&B singer and songwriter. Yeah, that's me.
Yeah.
That's me.
Now, I went looking for you on Spotify and I
Mhm.
realized there are two accounts.
Yeah.
One with an A, one with a V. And just for clarity, someone who may be interested in checking you out on Spotify, which account should they visit?
They can visit the one with an A first
Okay.
because it has all of my music. So basically, I'm kind of going through a rebranding where I'm changing my name to KVLI so that I can be more accessible and easier to find on all streaming platforms.
Okay. That might prove to be a challenge because I noticed as well you have so many listeners with the A,
I do.
right?
But I'm trying to see if I can transfer them. I think there's like a process where you can kind of merge the profiles and all your data kind of stays onto now the new one.
Yeah,
So,
I've actually done that myself because I was going by Mr.
yeah.
I changed Mr. from Uganda and they were like, the only thing they won't be able to transfer are the audience analytics. So if you're going to have a need for that, maybe during promotion or marketing, that's where the challenge might come in.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think what I might do is just like take screenshots as proof and
Yeah,
then
true.
do the whole transfer. Because, yeah, it is a bit confusing.
Yeah, makes
Yeah.
sense. Okay. Now, since we're getting into an interview, I would like to know what interview question have you been asked before that you feel like you don't mind going a lifetime without hearing it again?
Oh, really?
So that I don't make that mistake in this interview.
There's not really like one specific one in particular. I think it's just the really basic ones. Like when I go for interviews and you can tell they don't really know much about me or my music and they just ask the basic questions like, how did you start music? How old were you? But they don't really go in depth into like individual songs or even just my life story, because I have been doing this also for a number of years. So I like an interviewer that knows.
That knows their stuff. Huh?
Yeah.
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 I can imagine what that's like. I can imagine what that's like. Okay, so you dropped, for those who do not know, she dropped a video for one of her tracks from, I'll give that later, but basically she dropped a video yesterday
Yes.
for Step Aside featuring Groovy Joe.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the reception that you've received so far regarding that?
I think the reception has been really good in terms of like feedback I've been getting from people. It's a video that I'm really proud of. And I think a lot of people can see the growth because I started doing covers so long ago with just like phone quality. And now I'm releasing, 4K, like full production videos. So I think people are really happy that I've followed the journey with me. Yeah.
Okay. And that's a step you should be also proud of because that's what shows the growth, right?
Yes, definitely.
Now I think it's time to spill the beans. That particular single is off her debut album, which she dropped 2021. Confessions of a Baddie.
Yes.
That's how you say it, right?
Confessions of a Baddie.
Exactly. So before we go deep into this interview, I would like to know what is the relationship between you and Soul Cafe?
Oh my goodness. Okay. So basically, after university, I got signed like immediately after. So I was studying in Australia and we had a graduating recital. And my friend knew someone who was starting a label at that time. So she was like, oh, my friend is having a graduating recital. You should come and see it. Because my recital is basically like a show that I direct myself. So it had originals and it's with a live band and everything. So yeah, she invited the CEO to attend the recital, and after that they approached me. They were like, oh, we have this label Soul Cafe, it's independent, it's still growing. And at that time in Melbourne, I don't know, I wasn't around a lot of African students, or because my school was very small, and yeah, I just didn't have like a big international community. So when I saw that these were like Africans trying to like do big things in the diaspora, of course I was like very interested. So I graduated, had my fun and everything. And then I reached out and I was like, okay, like when do you guys want to have a meeting? So yeah, I met with like 3 of them. They told me what they were about, what they do, how they have studio access and producers, and basically what I needed at that time, because I felt like a lot of the stuff I was doing was just like getting free beats off of YouTube, and I really wanted, you know,
Don't we all?
my own exclusivity.
Uh,
Yeah. So that's how the relationship started.
okay, so you stayed in Australia post graduating as well for some time.
Yes. Just a few months, and then I actually came back. But I already signed the contract with Soul Cafe, and I told them I do want to come back home. So they agreed to still help me while I'm here. So we had a long distance type of thing where I would upload all my vocals onto Google Drive, and then they would now mix and master and stuff like that for me.
Do the whole back end.
Yeah.
Okay, and are you involved in the promotion process, in the whole promotion process of like your songs or albums that come out, or EPs as well?
Yes, I feel like I've always been involved in whatever I create. And I think it's because for a long time I was doing everything by myself. I was my own manager, I was my own promoter, I was my own, like, I just had to create a discipline for myself. So it actually was really hard for me to let other people kind of help,
take control type
yeah.
of,
Or do things in a way that I didn't think was right, but they think is right. And yeah, it was just like but it was eye-opening, and I've always wanted a team to work with, so I welcomed that experience. And then I think also when you work alone, you're so used to, okay, it's my way and I like how it sounds and I'm in charge. But when you have now other people, you have so many different opinions. And then all of a sudden you're like, damn, okay, like
you realize how different it is. It's like working now in a whole new business, kind of. It's not just you by yourself anymore.
Exactly.
It's kind of like expanding, let's say, from like sole proprietorship to like corporate type of vibes, right?
Yeah, I remember also like being in the studio one time and my producer was like, you're off pitch. And I'm like, no, I'm not. So just like little things like that, I'm like,
that must be annoying. Mostly because you've been singing, so you're like, who are they to tell me? Like, what is this? What is this?
But then like when I would listen back and like, you know, like he has those audio engineering ears. There were just things that, you know, I never even knew, like, because for me, I used to record myself all the time with reverb. And I didn't realize when you turn off the reverb, you can be actually really off. Like, you have to hear your vocals raw. So there were just things like that I was like really learning now, like working with other people.
Yeah, small tips, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, now you mentioned something that I found interesting. You say that there are a few things that you felt, for example, you felt like they needed to go one way, but they weren't going that way. The organization felt like, no, they should go another way. Can you give us like an example or two of like a personal thing that happened and you're like, yeah, I think maybe I was wrong or they were wrong, but it happened the way it happened?
So this story, I actually have never talked about it.
Exclusive.
Yeah. Basically, actually what happened is I got into a relationship with the person that was making my music. And I feel like that complicated a lot of things because even just in the dynamic of the relationship, you know, it's like you work together and then you get angry at each other and then it now affects...
It goes beyond work.
Yeah, it goes beyond work. And then also, you know, I felt like if we can't be professional, then there's no point in continuing the work relationship because, you know, we worked actually really well together. That's someone I felt like really understood my sound and really had my best intentions. So one thing I would always say is like, if we argue, let's not bring it to the music.
Yeah.
Right? But then of course...
It's natural almost.
It's natural almost. And like, even for me, I always write about my experiences. So you get awkward because it's like, I'm writing about you. And now you have to mix and master that and listen to how I'm kind of bashing you on the track. But also at the same time, it's like, you kind of do have to you have to separate it. But it's very hard. It was very hard to separate that. And I guess that's how... Now I'm not working with Soul Cafe Music anymore.
Oh, the relationship is done?
It's finished, yeah.
Oh wow, when did that end?
It ended last year actually. Last year. So after Confessions of a Baddie, that was now the last release
with them.
Yeah.
Had you signed a contract saying how many projects you're going to put out with them, or what kind of contract was it? What did the contract look like?
Yeah, so basically like the contract is renewable every year.
Oh, okay.
So that's what it looked like, which I liked, which means that if I'm not like happy this year, I can actually decide to resign.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I did.
Yeah. and it was all detached from the relationship. This was now on a different. It was due to a different reason, or did it have some attachments to?
Of course, it had some attachment. I won't lie about that. Like, it definitely had some
and
attachment.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So, you know.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's extremely difficult to work with someone, and then, you know, you feel like maybe they don't have the best intentions, or they delay a release, and you're like, okay, is it because you actually had something going on, or is it because of what's happening with us, you know? So, yeah, I just didn't like that dynamic anymore, and it didn't make me feel also secure. I felt like now my music career was in someone else's hands that might not have
your best interest.
My best interest. So, yeah, I was just kind of like, yeah, I need to get out.
Okay. So you've released a couple of singles in between the projects that you've released over the past few years. I would like to ask what the difference has been in your experience between promoting a single and promoting an album.
Okay. Yeah, so promotion with a single, I feel like is way easier. It's one song, you know, and there's just less you're promoting, right? It's literally just a single. With an album, though, you have to talk about you also have to break down each song. And also, I don't know, I felt the pressure with the word album, because EP is always a bit like lighter.
Yeah.
But
it feels lighter.
Ironically, though, like I feel like I was ready to release an album very early. So even before Confessions of a Baddie, before Different Definitions of Love, there was like another kind of EP/album. It had about 7 songs, so it's an album. And that's actually something like no one has ever heard, because also that whole project went downhill, but I recorded that in high school. And I was so ready to like release that and everything, but someone had changed the mastering, and I don't know, the whole project just sounded different by the end of it. So I wasn't happy with it. But I feel like, yeah, because I've been doing this for so long, I just feel like I've been ready. And then when you're told, oh, maybe don't release this yet, maybe start with this yet, you kind of have to slow yourself down, be like, okay, what are the pros and cons, for example. But yeah, because Different Definitions of Love Part 1 and Part 2 was just supposed to be Different Definitions of Love, the album. You know, it was supposed to have both.
Yeah,
I mean, all of those songs.
12 songs at once.
But then I also realized, you know, I'd never been on Spotify or Apple. Like, no one knows who I am. So if I release now a whole album, it's kind of like, I won't get the most listens or stuff like that. So I was like, okay, let me start with singles and EPs. And I also feel like people also respect you when you release bodies of work, you know, because it's so easy to release like a lot of singles and stuff like that. But when you put the work into have a cohesive kind of, you know, project, and you've taken time,
kind of tells a story, and all that,
then people were like, oh, because when I tell people, I have 2 EPs, an album, and this amount of singles out, then they're like, what? Like their jaw drops, you know. But it builds that like respect. So in terms of like the promotion aspects of it, an album is heavier, and I feel like you put more pressure on yourself, and you also want to gain the most out of it, because you've also put the most
so much work
in
into it.
Whereas with a single, you're like, okay, let's just see. Sometimes singles can also be like, let's see how this song performs, you know. But with an album, it's kind of like, it's gotta perform. It's interesting that you say that, because I came across a post that was like, usually with albums, that's something you do for the fans. When you have like a single, you're putting it out when you're trying to get people to listen to you, right? People don't know you're not going to be listening to a whole album. Like, who are you? You know what I mean? It's like if I came across you as well, you see from your experience, when you come across a new artist, you probably listen to the first 1 or 2 songs, unless someone recommended to you or something like that. So this post was basically like, you release albums for your fans. Like that fan base that you've already created is like, they're already into you, they're bought into you as a person. So those are people you kind of, you satisfy their need for your music. Another thing that I came across that I would like also your take on is the statement that as independent artists, or as artists that are coming up, we need to be looking at singles as marketing tools. Apparently a single is the best marketing tool an independent artist has. What do you think? I think I agree with that. Singles are how people get to know you, like you're saying, and it could be like that banger or that song. Also, singles are, I don't know. My relationship with singles are also, maybe I'm working on a project and that song, I just don't see it fitting into any project. So I'll just release it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it definitely could be a great marketing tool because, of course, singles usually come with music videos and, you know, all these other aspects of promotional material, right? And with singles, you can even just go to the radio station. I have this one song, you know, and you can also work with an intention behind a single. So you're like, I want this song to be played in the club. Okay.
Yeah.
That's
I
it.
want this to do this.
Yeah.
Like literally, yeah.
Exactly. So that's what I think about singles.
Okay.
I don't take them too seriously, but then also they can be great. For example, like to really promote you, to be on TikTok, all of these things now, you know?
Facts.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Hey, you seem to have your marketing hat on. Literally, I like that.
You
I
know?
like that. So you've been really busy over the past 3 years. I'm glad
Yeah.
you mentioned. I feel like you spilled the beans before I could spill them, but I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
You mentioned different definitions of love. Part 1, part 2. You've dropped your and you dropped this in succession, like 2019, 2020, 2021. You dropped your debut album.
Yeah.
Right. First thing I would like to know is, are they related? Like from part 1 to
part
Confessions of a
2.
Body. What's the story?
Oh.
With
A
the three
little
of
bit,
them?
yeah.
Yeah.
Because I feel like, you know, different definitions of love was talking about a relationship where we literally did not get each other's love languages at all. So it's like, you think love looks like this, and I think love looks like that, basically. And so it was kind of, yeah, like being vulnerable, talking about the good times and the bad times. And then Confessions of a Baddie, I feel like, because, you know, relationships have a way of also really making you insecure, bringing you down, your self-esteem and
She's
everything.
spitting facts. Facts.
So yeah, like I just felt like after that, I kind of just grew into myself. And I was just like, you know what? Like, remember who you are, girl.
Yeah.
Like, you are bad. You are, you're a winner. Like,
You're
you know,
that
it was
person,
just,
basically.
yeah. So, you know, it kind of was like just reiterating that I'm strong, I'm confident, I'm growing into my own. I'm now in my mid-20s. I'm a woman now. Like, I'm not a girl anymore who's getting her heart broken. Like, I know, you know, the difference between like a not so great person and a good person now. So basically, yeah, that's kind of like the relationship, you could say, between the EPs and the album. It's just kind of like, okay, I was here, but now I'm here. Yeah.
Okay. You've mentioned something interesting, something that I didn't even like anticipate you, which is a good thing. I didn't anticipate you saying it. You spoke about love languages, and that's something that my girlfriend got me into. Actually, she exposed me to it. Right.
Smart woman.
Yeah, very. So what I would like to know is, of course, going to get a bit personal, and you let me know if you feel like you I'm crossing a line or something.
Sure.
I would like to know, like, what are your top 2 love languages, for
Top
example?
2.
Because I'm aware of 5. Maybe if,
Yeah,
if,
no, there
yeah,
are
5.
5.
Yeah, so
I'd say quality time. That's my number 1, and physical touch.
I'm fighting looking at the camera right now. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
You're in a relationship, right?
Yeah, I am.
Okay. Do you know your partner's first 2?
Of course.
Okay.
Well, I'm not going to tell y'all that.
Yeah, of course. I wasn't even going to ask. I just wanted to know that you know that. Because that's I feel like that's a major thing. I was talking to my parents recently, and I was telling them about love language, and they were looking at me like, what kind of modern things are these? You know what I mean? And I realized that they didn't really understand that like love can go that deep. Like, people love you the way they want to be loved sometimes.
No, it's
you
true.
know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah. So I feel that's an important part. So that was just, just
sidetrack.
Sidetrack, right?
Yeah.
So I'm certain you releasing these projects over the last 3 years has definitely helped you grow as an artist, right?
Yeah.
But what I would like to know is what impact it has had on the growth of your fan base. Yeah.
So I feel like consistency always brings results. Always. Like,
that's a gem right there.
Yeah. Like, I remember having one of my first interviews here. I think it was on Capital FM. And Amina had asked me, like, are you going to be consistent? And how can we make sure, like, this is not just one beautiful song and we won't see you again? And I was just like, don't worry, I'm gonna be back. You know,
Yeah.
like I just was like, yeah, like and it's also kind of like a promise to the people who you're listening to, because people do get connected to you, and they also do kind of feel entitled to your success. They're like,
It's like
I
I'm
listened
invested
to
in
her
it.
when she was, you know, like you. There's a pride that a lot of fans get from that. So for me, because this is what I felt like, I always knew what I wanted to do. I was like, from such a young age, I knew this was part of my destiny. You know, and a lot of people don't have that, but for me, I had that. I'm like, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life.
That's
So
deep. That's a deep.
it's
That's
deep. But then also, I don't know, like sometimes when you find out what you want to do too young, you lose interest in a lot of other things. So I feel like, you know, sometimes I might have missed out on growing other talents or skills just because I was so focused on what
Tunnel vision.
Literally tunnel vision. But yeah, so what was the question again? I'm getting distracted. What?
Basically, I was asking
Yeah.
your fan base.
Yeah.
How
Okay.
you releasing music as? Yeah.
Yeah, I think it definitely has grown my fan base for sure. I started with like, you know, that that sign on Spotify that's like less than 0, you know?
Less than 1,000.
Yeah,
Is
less
it?
than
Oh
a
my
thousand
God.
or whatever, you know? Like that's how it was. Like,
I know that all
remember,
too well.
Yeah.
All too well.
I was just like, okay, all right, how are we gonna like do this, you know? So for me, I feel like consistency was the key. It was always releasing something every 3 months or every, you know,
So you have it part of, it's kind of like your mentor schedule. It's like 3 months have passed. That's too long. type
yeah,
shit, huh?
exactly.
Okay.
Because I'm like, if I was, because I also listen to music, I also have favorite artists,
Yeah.
and I also track their music. So I'll be like, oh, I haven't heard from this person in a while, you know, like, so I see it from the fan perspective, and then I also think about it now from the artist's perspective. But then for me, also because I wasn't working, this was my full-time job, right? So I took it now to that level of I have to. Like, I have to release, I have to be in the studio, I have to have a show, I have to, like, that was, for me, the way I would also now convince the people around me, because I still do have a lot of people watching, waiting to see when, and what I'm doing, and if I'm going to be successful. So I felt
When
like,
you're going to be successful.
you know, but it's always like I had something to prove, whether it's my parents, you know, that we invested so much in this.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's like, okay, I have to really like
Push
show them
yourself
like,
and
yeah, because I can't just be a creative sitting on the couch and being like, yeah, I have a music degree, and I like music, and I'm an artist, but I just sit there. Like, I just can't. Like, my work ethic has always been strong, even in school. You know, I would always have a calendar, visual calendar, write out
Where
all
am
my
I going?
assignments.
This is where I'm going.
Yeah. It's just how I organize my mind and myself. So even when I finished uni, I was just like, okay, I have to go. I have to create my artist profiles. This is what I want to do. And I would even now, that was when I was still Soul Cafe. I'm like, I have to release a video. This is what I want to do, and so forth. So I felt also very in charge. And I think also that's something that a lot of artists lose when they sign to
A label. Yeah.
because it's like you have an idea and a vision of what you want, and then they might have a different idea and vision of what they want. So, but yeah, I think the key for me and to see the growth was just releasing, and also listening to your fans. Your fans will actually tell you what they want.
Yeah.
So they'll be like, oh, I really loved this, so I'll do more of that.
Yeah. Now you know you have direction type.
You have direction. You know, people will be like, oh, I really miss you doing covers. Can you just do this one song? Do that one song.
Yeah. You kind of feed your audience, huh?
Feed your audience, but also don't get lost in feeding your audience.
Yeah. You need to be stay true to yourself as well.
Yeah, definitely.
How key is a schedule? Because you mentioned that, and I like that point, because
Yeah.
I feel like this is, like, I'll just let you know, the reason I say this podcast was kind of selfish is because I'm an underdog, and I wanted to know what are artists whom I want to be like doing.
Yeah.
So that was one of the major reasons for me starting this, talking to people that are, first of all, where I'm at, how are we thinking, are we aligned, like how is it that we are thinking the same way? That kind of explains why we are where we are at, right?
Yeah.
And then talk to people who are at a place where you want to be, right? So how does a schedule factor into your success? How has that helped you get to where you're at?
I mean, it's a huge part of it.
Mm-hmm.
It has to be a huge part of it. I think it's also like with any kind of thing that's, I don't know, how do I say it? Like entrepreneurs, for example, or people who start small businesses, you have to have something that you're going to do every day to grow that business.
Yes, ma'am.
Right? And so I feel like that's kind of the same thing with like music. How am I going to grow my fan base? How am I going to eat? How am I going to get money from this?
Yeah.
But also, how am I going to get exposure and the best kind of exposure? So those are all key things. Instagram, use hashtags, upload this amount of videos a day, or at least even, you know, I used to tell my sister, like, I'm working right now. I'm on Instagram talking to people on my story, but I'm working.
It's work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because also your fans connect with you. And when you also talk to them and you have maybe that personality that can really engage with your fans, they love it.
They feel like they know you even.
They
It's
feel like they know you.
They come to a show and they're like, they're telling you what happened yesterday. They're like, oh yeah, you know.
Yeah. You
At
find
least
people.
I imagine.
Yeah, no, it's completely true. And for me, like, also I had started becoming kind of a YouTube personality at one point, because I'm like, okay, I really am a loud, bubbly, extroverted person. Might as well use that to my advantage and also give them content while I'm also creating. So, you know, vlogs. Hey guys, what up? While I'm also like, I'm doing that, I'm giving them something while they're waiting for
A
something
release
else.
or
Yeah. So that's kind of what I was doing. But then the YouTube thing, I don't know. People started knowing me now as Callie the YouTuber, and I didn't like that. I was like, I don't want to be a YouTuber. I want to be a singer, and I want you to know me for my music.
Yeah.
You know? So actually, like, that's and that's what helped grow my channel. If you see now, it has like 4,000 subscribers. But
you are vlogging a bit.
I was
That's
vlogging,
what- yeah.
but you don't see them now. It's just a purely music channel now. Yeah.
Yeah.
I changed it because I just deleted them. I was just kind of like, you know what? Also, some of these videos can come back and bite me.
Literally.
So I'm a delete them.
You know, you've just literally spoken
archive.
to me directly. with
Really?
that, because I've been doing something like that.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to figure it out, because I started, for example, this series called Behind the Song, where I explain, you know, what the inspiration was by my song.
Yeah.
I had this whole thing where I started out doing vlogs as well. So
Yeah.
you saying this is like reinforcing my mind. It's like, bro, I think you need to, you know.
Although
uh-huh.
it's not bad for, like, there are some creatives who are doing it successfully, but I think it's
Yeah.
also very hard to be a personality and
An artist.
an artist. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
That's my thought process too.
Yeah.
You're dropping gems, serious gems. I love this.
Thank you.
You also said something else that I would like to know about, right? You said discovering your passion too early can kind of derail you from discovering what else you could do with your life.
Yeah.
What do you feel like those things are for you? Maybe you give us a couple that you
Yeah.
feel maybe you could have if
I
you weren't
mean-
doing music, or if music wasn't it.
Yeah, I remember like a lot of people asking me, like, if you weren't doing music, what would you do? And I always would freeze. Like, I'd be like, I don't know. Like, I guess I'm kind of good at photography, you know. And my mind would always go to something very creative. It wouldn't go to something like that's completely out of my field. So for me, I used to have I still do have a passion for animals. And at one point I was like, oh, I could be a vet. I could see myself doing that. But then of course there's blood and other things that I'm not so comfortable with. But
Blood makes you uncomfortable?
yeah.
Okay. Fun fact.
Fun facts. But yeah, like, even just knowing things that, even like one of my aunties was telling me, you know, you have a really good personality, even just for TV or hosting or something like that.
I agree.
And I was just like, I never thought about that. Or but your personality can also work in other ways, even helping people and stuff like that. So I don't know. I'm still in that I don't know phase. It's something I guess I'm still also looking at and expanding within myself.
Still figuring it out. Huh?
Still figuring it out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. What factors do you consider before performing at an event or a show? What boxes do they need to check before you're like agree to it? Because I'm sure you're approached by certain events and you're like, does that really fit my brand type?
Yeah.
Do you think like that?
Of course. Yeah, and also one thing I would love for the Kenyan performing scene to to really, you know, acknowledge is having just good microphones, good sound systems, because an artist has to be heard in the best way possible. And sometimes I feel like I go for a gig and I'm like, I hated the way I sounded. I don't even want to watch the videos back because I just know that
Like it sounded like trash.
I'm like, was the mic distorted? Like, or what was happening? Or the person behind the desk doesn't know what they're doing? Or so for me, like if someone approaches me, the first thing I always ask about is sound. Who's providing the sound? Is there going to be a sound engineer at the mixer? Just because that's the whole point of a live show is people are coming to see you to enjoy you live, and
Your
if
energy,
the sound is not great, it also derails now you as the artist, because now you start thinking like mid-song you're thinking, oh my gosh, I sound terrible, I just want to get this show over with, and that's the last space you want to be in mentally when you're performing.
Fact.
Yeah, so the first thing is always sound. And also venue as well, like can my fans get here? Is it too far? There's just different questions you ask yourself. Also, I think pay is a big one here in Nairobi. How much am I getting paid for this? And if I'm getting paid this, I need a deposit. Yeah. Always ask for a deposit.
Don't just go hoping that they'll pay you after.
Because also, or make sure there's even a contract saying they will pay you on said date. Because I feel like a lot of artists are taken advantage of, and a lot of us have to stand up, because I feel like there's still those who are kind of taking it. They're kind of like, oh, but I got this opportunity. I'm getting paid in exposure.
Yeah.
The more most of us stand up and say no, I feel like that's what's going to change now. All these other people who are now hiring, they'll be like, hey, these artists nowadays, they actually want to get paid. Yeah, we do. Guess what? We do.
It's like it wasn't free making the song. What do you even mean by that?
Yeah. Exactly. So those are like the key things. Yeah.
Okay. You've given me like those two answers I did expect though.
Yeah.
I didn't know what to expect, but they're unique. I feel like you've touched on parts that I feel like the audience might benefit from, things that people don't think about. For example, location. Do you take a look at your analytics, like back end, in terms of like your audience, people who show up? Do you look like, okay, my audience in Nairobi, if I'm invited to perform in Kisumu, there are probably no fans there.
Yeah.
You look at all those things?
Of course.
Okay.
And also I look at also what kind of audience, like you're saying, I have. What's the age range? Are they mainly female or male? There are all these stats now that on the platforms really help you understand your fan base. And who you're reaching and all that kind of stuff. So if someone asked me to go to Kisumu, I'd be like, okay, I'm not sure, but if I'm getting paid and maybe I can reach a new audience, cool. That's the reason I would go. It's not like I'm expecting 100 Cali fans to be like, hey,
be singing your songs now.
It'd be now for me to go and like reach a new audience. That'd be
try to get 1 or 2 or 20 people to fuck with your music.
Exactly. So I wouldn't like completely shut that down.
Okay. So as an artist, when you hear the term monetization, what comes to mind?
Like how you make your money off of streaming, YouTube, like now the online stuff.
Yeah. Now I want you to just break that down. Like, for example, what's coming to mind for me is like maybe brand sponsorships, maybe performance rights, the royalties, maybe mechanical royalties.
Are huge.
Yeah. Tell me about that. You're signed to MCSK?
Nope. I'm signed to APRA, which is in Australia, actually. Yeah.
Tell me about that.
So one of the things I did when I was out, I was like, I'm going to register myself as a songwriter out here. Reason being, I had heard a lot of unfortunate things about the music association rights here, in terms of how artists are not getting paid fairly, and stuff like that. And for me, even the registration process was so easy out there. It was all online. I just had to, fill out a form. I don't have to pay a fee. Here,
it's free.
You do have to pay to register a song, isn't it? Yeah. And you have to bring it on a CD and stuff like that, which I think is a bit ridiculous, because a lot of computers and stuff nowadays don't even have that CD slot.
Thank you for saying that. Thank you for saying that.
Yeah, it's kind of just like things are a bit still behind. And also I feel like the reports are not Correct.
They're not genuine.
They're not genuine. You ask for your report, maybe you don't get it until like 3 months later, and you're like, these are now experiences people have been telling me about. Even Elani, if you go watch their, I don't know if that video is still up, but they stopped music purely for that reason.
Elani.
Yeah, but now they're back.
Okay.
But they had stopped music for a while because of them not getting paid their fair amount of royalties. And I was like, I'm not going to go through that. Like, no way. If I can find an association that can fairly record my streams and if my song gets played on the radio,
they collect all that.
Yeah, because also sometimes I'm like, how do radio stations get my songs? Like, sometimes I'll go for an interview and they already have my song, but I didn't send it.
Yeah.
So why are they illegally downloading my music? These are questions
That's
you also
copyright
have
infringement.
to. Yeah. So if it's like, there were just questions that, I would ask myself, and I'm like, do I want to go through this? There are things you can also save yourself from going through as an artist just by watching and learning from others.
Yeah.
And you don't even have to be in like Australia or those places like to sign up for most of these things. Like, even Song Trust is another really big publisher that I'm with.
Yeah.
So
I thought for Song Trust you would need to be signed to like a PRO.
Our label?
No. Like a PRO, that's a performance rights organization. For example, like APRA. Right. Or MCSK is also a PRO, right?
Yes.
Because I was checking out Song Trust and Sound Exchange. You've heard of Sound Exchange?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think because I'm from Uganda, so I would have to sign up. Meant I was thinking UPRS, that's Uganda Performance Rights Society, right?
Right.
And what you said about the CD, literally you touched my heart. Because I was like, that's what I was like, why? Like, why do I need to send it? I would need to be back home basically, so I can't do it from here. So I email them, they're not replying type. So
yeah, it's very exhausting, and it makes you not even want to. By the time you're done with that process, you're even just like, damn, like, was it worth it? Because
and then on top of that, they're going to waste time in terms of sending you your check. They won't really send it to you,
or it's even below what you should get.
Exactly, because you've been hearing your music being played. You have the cloud that proves that my music is being played like frequently.
Yeah. So for me, I was just like, I didn't like that aspect of things, and I was just like, no, I'm going to eliminate that immediately. Yeah, for myself.
Okay. Have you done any brand sponsorships?
No, I have not.
Any particular reason? Because you haven't been approached, or there's some that have been approached? And
I haven't been approached, but I also know already who I'd want to work with. I'm not gonna say it. I'm in the manifestation mode.
Let's burn some candles, some incense.
Right? I'm actually all about that, by the way. But yeah, like I think also it's all about who you know, unfortunately, in this country as well, right? So I do feel like certain brands will approach you. Number one, depending on how many, it's all a numbers game as well. Like, how well is this artist doing?
Yeah.
Then they now look at your personality. Okay, is this a troublemaker?
Yeah.
Is this artist actually like, do they fit with our brand?
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I've only seen actually a handful of artists here get brand sponsorships. So I'm still also very curious, and most of them are alcohol related.
Yeah, and you don't drink.
I do drink, but I don't know if I'd want
to relate your brand to that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Even though the check is fat?
It's not about the money for me.
Hey.
Like, for me, it's really about like making music it's really deep for me, because it started out as almost like therapy. Like, I really was finding a way to express myself in ways that I couldn't before. So before, I used to be very kind of as a child, I was actually very confident, and then I got into a space where I wasn't anymore, and I felt like I couldn't talk to people, like talk back to people or speak up for myself. And during that time, music now was saying all the things I wanted to say. That was my outlet. And then once I found people actually kind of liked what I had to say, I was like, let me keep going, and use it. So yeah, and also I feel like it's about knowing who you are in this industry. That's also so key. Like, if someone, like a cigarette now company, approaches me with like, let's say 1 million or 5 million shillings, I'm not gonna do it
because that's you don't even associate with it.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so that's why, like, in that sense, it's not about the money.
Okay.
Yeah.
You really went in. Like, I didn't even think about cigarettes. Like I get where you're coming from, because even when you say that, I was like, I don't think I would do that type of deal. Even though for me,
Right?
like, money is key. That's the truth. When I started out
Yeah.
personally, I started out, it was an experiment. It was
Mm.
like, because I used to write, I still write poetry just now in music. So before it was just poetry, and a friend of mine just was like, would you rather write poetry or like write to beats? And I was like, let me try that,
Mm.
and it stuck with me. Like, I've tried to let it go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just one of those things. Like, when I see someone else as well do music, it's like it fires me up. I get excited.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is a feeling that I don't want to lose. And probably I keep playing around with the idea. I've written songs whereby I'm like, started at 20, stopping at 30. But at the back of my mind, I know I would stop this if I stopped having fun with it, but I don't know when that will be.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Keep telling myself it will be soon, but I don't know, because every time I hear someone who makes music, it doesn't matter the genre.
Yeah.
If I see them do their thing, I'm kind of fat. It gives me life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's what music
Definitely.
does for me. Lately, I feel like definitely, because now I've got more exposed to the business side. At first, it was just like picking off YouTube, like you said, just
Yeah.
putting out music. Now
Exactly.
I've got exposed to the business side. I want to know, okay, I can actually live off of this.
You can.
You know what I mean?
Definitely.
Yeah, with the right system set up.
Yes. It
Yeah.
has to be the right system. And also, like, even back to what you were saying, of course there's like a money incentive. Like, you want to do what you love and also benefit from it.
Yeah.
But I think if you go with the intention of, I love doing this, then the money will come. Like, that's what I've seen. Like, if you're focused so much on, let me make this single make me money, and
Yeah.
like, then I feel like that's, you're gonna get lost a bit. If you're just purely in love with what you're creating, and you're like, this is what I love, the world will love it, you just kind of speak over it and affirm it, I feel like those things follow. And I'm speaking that from like experience, because like, I remember when I made money from one of my songs, and it was just like, no, it was like $1 or something, and I was like, yeah, like, I can go to 7-Eleven and get a coffee, you know,
Yes.
like, and then like, but I've seen the growth, just from doing what I love. Like, I like getting surprised also. So sometimes I'll log in and I'll be like, whoa, oh my gosh,
Yeah,
like,
the figure surprises
like, I'm like, wow, this is cool. Like, so I can buy 10 coffees now, so it's kind of just like, you see the growth, and like, depending on, and also it depends on also the team behind you, because let's say you just purely focus on the love of your craft, then you have someone else now
Doing
managing
maybe the marketing or the managing, all that.
That's also, I think, how people really now make a lot of financial stability, is now when you have now those other people to think about things you don't have to put your energy into.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What you've just said has reminded me of a book I read. I don't know if you've read a book titled Big Magic
No, I
by
haven't.
Elizabeth. I feel like, just from the vibes that I've picked up from just conversation, because I feel like I've got to know you even better as a person.
Yeah.
I feel like you would like that book. It's Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert. And basically she's like, don't put pressure on your craft. If you have something you love, figure out how you're going to make money. But if you put out a song, or maybe a book, because she's a novelist, if
Yeah.
you put out a book and you're like, this book has to feed me, when it doesn't, later on you're going to be like, yo, this thing's not meant for me. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Because it's not putting anything on your table.
Yeah.
And you feel like you're wasting time. You forget why you started. You forget what it is you're really getting from this.
Exactly.
You know? So I resonate with what you've just said regarding
Yeah,
that.
Definitely.
Yeah.
It's a huge part of it. And, as artists, because this is such an emotional roller coaster of instability, because we're not very stable. We're always in one extreme or the other, or somewhere in between. You're like, okay, I think I'm
Until you
kind
have it
of...
figured out.
You know?
Exactly. It's like,
So, and wanting and craving that stability is completely normal. Like, we all go through it. And I've even heard some of the biggest stars be like, yeah, I was going to give... Literally, the point where they were going to give up is when they found their success. Or
that's a common narrative. Huh?
that's a common narrative I've been seeing. And also... But the thing I've been seeing is persistence, consistency, and confidence.
Yes.
Yeah.
I like the sound of that.
Yeah.
I like the way it just went.
I know. I was like, oh.
You're finna become a rapper right now. Persistence.
Right?
Yeah. Okay, so still on the money thing, I would like to know, like, what are your most lucrative streams of income in this music business so far? And lucrative, it's for you. This is a personal. It's tailored to you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
So obviously with streaming, like you really don't get that much, right? Because when you look at actually how much Spotify pays, it's like cents and stuff to really, build now really big money. It takes some
Trust.
time. So I wouldn't say streaming. I would say performing. Live performances is where the money is at. And it's also great because it's almost instant. You do a show, you get paid, right? And also at least it's I guess it depends on the duration of how long you're performing, what kind of event it is. But for me, that's been my most lucrative way of gaining an income is through performance.
And on entry level, for example, you don't give us like an exact figure,
Yeah.
but based on your experience, what's the average? Someone like, for example, with your status at your level, how much do you get paid on average?
Well, the thing is, even at my level, you see, you might see that I'm at a level.
Yeah.
Other people don't see that. So they just think, this is someone who has recommended. Like, it depends also on who's hiring and how much they know about you. And so even for me, whenever someone asks me to perform, my thing is always, how long am I performing for? Because that always now depends. Am I performing?
That's what determines the
pricing,
yeah.
Right? So if you want me for a full day, honey, you better be ready to pay. Like, because that's also a full day of my time, my energy, my vocal strength and abilities. So if it's also half a day, that's still quite expensive, But if it's like an hour, 20 minutes, that's also where. But I always say, start with double digits. Start at 10K.
Yeah, minimum.
Don't drop. Don't do 7.5. No.
Yeah.
Know your worth as an artist.
Yeah.
And even for me, I always I'll even tell people that's too low.
Yeah.
Or even
off the butt, like you don't.
Yeah. I'll be I'm sorry. Important. I think I actually deserve
more than that.
And don't be afraid to say that.
Yeah.
Because I feel like they'll also now respect you and be like, wow, maybe I should actually look at what they're putting out and see what she's talking about.
Yeah.
And then they'll come back and be like, okay, or you can negotiate. Don't be afraid to negotiate. The people, they'll give you their comfortable price, but they can always go a little bit higher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They usually give you low and
exactly.
that headspace. If you accept, it's like cool.
Yeah. If you accept it, then they're like, oh, okay, wonderful.
They can't even give you
then
low.
Like, wait, what? You mean you could have? Yeah. So don't undervalue yourself. Don't be afraid to ask for what you need. Because this could be your bread and butter. This could be what's feeding you, what's paying your rent. Like if you're doing it now full time, you also have to think with that mentality. Like, okay, how many gigs do I need in a week to pay the rent
pay
or
my expenses and all that
groceries? Yeah, it all falls into place. So yeah.
Okay. Tell us of a time you were wronged by someone in this music business. Yeah, just share an experience. Yeah.
There have been quite a few. I feel like also as a woman in this industry, it's very difficult. In the sense that, I don't know, I feel like you have to be ready for things that no one really prepares you for. So, some people have very not great intentions when they're working with you. And for me, it's been very hard because this is a male-dominated industry. Your producer is always a man. Your guitarist or instrumentalists are always men, right? Your videographers and stuff. It's very rare that you'll find a top female director or a top female music sound engineer and stuff like that. And for me, I feel like I got into the industry, like I was saying, I've been doing this for a long time. So I'd feel very uncomfortable sometimes working with the opposite sex. I'd be like, or
you're not sure where they're going with it or what their intentions are. Type.
Yeah. And then also when some people are very unprofessional too, they'll be like, actually, this is a funny story. So this was now in Australia, and I went for a concert of an artist I really liked. And there was like an after party type of thing at a club. So, I spotted one of her pianists, the one who was on stage, and I was like, oh my gosh, you played so well, like da-da-da. Just congratulating the person. And then now, like, when me and my friend were leaving, they spotted us and they were like, oh, like, where are you guys going? We're like, home. Obviously, it's like 3 a.m. They're like, you know, like, let's go for dinner. And we're like,
At 3 a.m. in the
3 a.m.
morning.
Like, where? But we were hungry, I won't lie. And, you know, we were also kind of like jazzed, like, oh my gosh, these people were just with that star and they want to have dinner with us, you know, like, so we're like, okay, like, so we just went to like a little place like across the street. And, you know, there was these people who now, when they feel like they're really big, they're like, oh, you know, I can change your life. I can change your life. Like, literally, like, I'm working on so-and-so's album right now. You know, you got something? Send me a demo. Like, and they try to really flex. And you're like, but what does this person really want? Because then it's like, oh, you know, we're going back to the hotel. Now that's where you draw the line. You know, you're like, okay.
You're like, this was supposed to be just dinner. Quartz.
Yeah. So that's the point where you leave, right? And I did. But I also feel like there's so many men like that in the industry that try to be like, oh, like, if you sleep with me or if you do this or...
I'll put you on.
Yeah, and it's like... And there are women who are desperate enough to
do that.
To do that, right? And it's sad. And I feel like women are almost seen as like, oh, like, you can get something out of them first before you even see their talent or their value or all of these things. So... That's been like something that I've seen, like, with other artists. We've talked about it. And even like some women don't want to be sexual, like, at all in front of the camera. But you're told, oh, this is what sells. This is what's going to get you views. This is, you know. Yeah. And you should get to that place if you want to when you're comfortable enough, with, you know. So there are all of these different things navigating the industry that have been quite... you know, difficult and interesting as well, fascinating, you know, the mindset behind people and also I think just people also thinking they can take advantage because you're young or you're like, for me, I'm very petite. People don't think I can fight. Not saying that I can
throw it down.
Not like that, but like stand up for yourself, you know, or they don't think you have that.
They undermine you, basically.
They undermine you, yeah. So I think that for me has just been one of the most challenging things, is for people not to undermine me because of, you know, my age or how small I am or all of these things. It's kind of just like, look, I'm here, I'm talented, and this is, I know what I deserve. And once you tell them that, they're like, oh, okay, like, you know.
But I deserve to hold my own space as well.
You have to. And like, even for me, I remember there was also an interview that I had actually for a local channel that's quite big. But the person started going around and DMing like a lot of my personal friends and family, asking questions about me. And I said, that's not cool. Like,
you can't
if you want information, come to the source. Like, you know, I don't know what type of dirt or stuff they were trying to find, but I was like, that's really unprofessional. And I will not be doing your show.
And this was before you had gone even on their show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because now people are DMing me. They're like, do you know this person? Like, who is this? They're even going to my enemies, you know, asking like...
The ops.
Yeah. They're going to my ops. So I was like, woo, really? Like...
They're willing to go that far.
Because I was like, if you want even people to ask questions, like, I can even give you my own mother. She knows my whole life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, let me give you the right people to talk to. But if you want to be sneaky about it, like... then what are you trying to get out of the interview? Yeah. You know, so there are just things like that I feel like, yeah, it was a great opportunity. It's a really good show, has a lot of viewers, but I didn't like that whole background process, and I stood up for myself. Yeah. Yeah.
It's basically having a spine as well and having standards.
Definitely.
You know, yeah, it's like, I'm not going to do it, and I'm not going to do it for clout. Clout is not the currency for me type shit.
No, and not at all. And I feel like, you know, like... obviously, you know, when you do well and succeed and people give you lots of likes and love, it's almost like a dopamine rush, right? It actually is, I think. Fact. And people can get addicted to that. And they will do anything to feel that again. Yeah. And
it's a big ass problem.
Yeah.
I suffer from it. I won't even deny it. Sometimes it happens to me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? From time to time, but kind of trying to be aware as well of this, like, shit, that is... like, I'm hooked on the feeling. Yeah. I'm hooked on the feeling right now. Yeah.
Definitely. And it's a dangerous place to be in, because then it's like, what else would you do to,
To
you
get
know?
your fix.
Yeah, to get your fix. It's like if you, and then what will happen if you don't get your fix? Because there's some people who are fixated on numbers of likes or stuff like that. They'll post a pic. They'll even take it down just because it didn't perform well. You know? So
Yeah.
I feel like that's kind of like the dangerous space that I always also tell myself I don't ever want to be in. If I post myself and I get 80 likes,
It is what it is. Yeah.
like, you know, and the Instagram now has that option for even turning off likes, and I
Yeah.
have that. I don't want to know.
Yeah, literally for your own sake.
For my own, like, even
Yeah.
mental health,
Mental
I feel
health.
like it's this whole comparison game can really destroy you. And so for me, I'd always just say, like, I want to be better than who I was yesterday,
Fact.
not the other girl next door.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there'll always be, like, if you go by that, there'll always be, even though you go number one, there'll always be someone who will take you down for that.
Yeah.
Number. But if you're always going against yourself, it's
Yeah.
like you'll always be better if you want to be better. Like, it really comes
Exactly.
down to your choices, right?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so to wrap up the interview, I would like to know what's that something that you're doing right now that you're looking to change regarding your music operation, your music business? What is it? What's that one thing or things? It depends. One or two things that you feel like you might want to change going forward.
I think, well, one thing that's always changing is my sound. Yeah, I say I'm R&B and pop, but I always fuse R&B with other things. Afro R&B or R&B pop or R&B trap and a bit of soul, you know? So
I noticed that like from the part one and part two to Confessions of a Body, there was a difference.
There was a difference.
Yeah.
So I feel like I'm evolving, and I want my fans to evolve with me. And I don't want to ever be put in a box. So if I want to do like a ballad one day, I'm going to do it. If I want to try rapping one day, I'm going to do it, you know? So, yeah, it's just kind of like growth, I guess. And I think people like to, with branding, people always say, okay, stick to this.
One thing.
Stick to this and be
Yeah.
this. But I feel like I'm a chameleon. I feel like I can do a lot of things, and I don't ever want to trap myself in a box. So, like you're saying, I've been very consistent for multiple years, but I feel like this year for me is like a rest year. I feel like I've also just gone through a lot of personal tragedies. So I just feel like mentally I need to relax, I need to heal, and I also just want the music that's already out there to grow.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, okay, I've given you guys consistency for this amount of years. I also deserve to chill.
Yeah. Take time out for myself too.
Take time out for myself. Also figure things out for myself. And I mean, I'm always like recording. Like I'm always recording. It's the artists, we call this the vault.
Yeah.
We're filling up the vault always.
There's always something.
There's
if
always
you want to draw.
something.
Yeah.
There's always something. But I think for me, I don't want to burn out. That's also something that I feel like last year I released the most amount of music
that you've done before.
Yeah, like 14 tracks. It's not a joke.
That's 2 over the number of months in a year. That's crazy.
And I don't know how many videos too, because I also released visuals as well and collaborations. So, but for me, I also realized like there's a healthy way to do music. Music can be your distraction in a very healthy way, but it can also be a distraction in a not so healthy way, where now you're running away from something else. And I lost my father last year, and I feel like that's kind of what pushed me into just go. Okay, now I have to make it like
Working
he's
all the
gone, you know,
time.
like I have to make him proud. And I was just like releasing, writing, putting myself in the studio and almost overworking myself. So also like the people who are like watching me and everything, they're like, oh, she's, because you know there's that thing that comes with, oh, you're doing music, okay,
God knows.
you know, and
God knows.
I was just kind of like, sheesh, like, you know, I felt like I had something to prove, and
that feels like a recurring theme for you, something to prove.
yeah, I do feel like it's just been in that mindset of like, because also like I feel like just because I've known what I wanted to do for so long, and I've heard the naysayers for so long, it always feels like I am proving something. Like every time I release a video, I'm like, every time I release a song, I'm like, or drop a project, or I'm on the radio, or it's like, you heard me at what, Java? Really? Oh. weren't you the one saying I should do something else? Like, so
Like, what are you saying now?
exactly. So I think for me also the consistency is what people are noticing, but also I'm not gonna burn myself out trying to also prove to people what I can do. And so that's why it's also just having that level of self-awareness, knowing when to take care of yourself, and then coming back to your craft. Because also with music, because it's not like a 9 to 5 every day you're going somewhere, there's a lot of also pressure that comes with, okay, I didn't do anything today, so like that's a day gone that I could have, and you don't want to ever be in that space. You're like, you know what, I rested today. That's a win. It's not
a good thing.
Yeah, it's not a failure or stuff like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, for me, I think, I released a music video. It was actually recorded last year. But I might be a little bit quiet, just a little bit, because I'm going through my own things.
Yeah, and you need time.
Yeah.
Like, you're a human being. Beyond all this, you just happen to be a normal human being that makes music.
Yeah.
Right?
Pretty much.
You're a normal human that makes music.
Yeah. And I do think I actually am, like, because in this space I have also the most time to write also some of the most beautiful songs that I've wanted to. Because of the space I'm in. The real space I'm in. Like, the real emotions and stuff I'm going through right now has a lot of potential to make some great stuff.
Yeah.
But
what
I also
might
have
be
to
some of your best music to come?
Exactly. Which I already started writing some, so I'm already like, wow, this is a new level.
You can feel it. You're like,
yeah.
Definitely, like, Confessions of a Body was nothing. For
real. And I think it's also showing different aspects of yourself as an artist. You can be hard, you can be vulnerable, you can be all these. It's just showing your humanness.
Yes.
In your music.
100%.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, for those who are interested in finding you, getting to listen to your music, let us know where they can find you, where you're most active, and also the platforms musically where you feel like you would want them to check you out.
Okay, so I'm most active on Instagram and all of my social media, so Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. That's at official Cali, so official KVLI. And my most active, I guess, platform for streaming is like Spotify, but you can use Apple. I'm there on basically like Boomplay, Deezer.
We need you on Audio Mac.
I know, I need to get on that actually.
That's my app.
Yeah.
That's where I sell my music, and I was like,
I'm not there. But like I'm saying, I'm also in the process of finding like new distribution.
Claiming your profiles as well on all these platforms as well.
No, at least that I claimed them.
Even on audio?
Not on
Mac?
audio.
Oh, but on the rest,
Yes.
definitely. Yeah.
On the rest of them, I have claimed them, which is good. But now, it's just kind of re-strategizing, and also now making all the profiles cohesive. So that's like my goal.
Yeah. That's an important point you've mentioned. I feel like whoever's listening should take that up as well. Like having cohesive profiles on your Instagram, on your social media, and also your DSPs as well.
Yeah,
that's
definitely.
important.
So you're easy to find.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Okay, so this has been a pleasure, Kali. Like, I feel like you've been vulnerable.
Yeah.
I feel like you've been open, and I've just enjoyed the conversation. I feel like I've been talking to a friend. You know what I mean?
Yes, a friend. It's like two.
Yeah, so it's not just one.
It's not just one.
Yeah.
I'm glad. Thank you for having me. Thank you for asking great questions. I look forward to, watching all the other episodes and watching this episode too.
Yeah, definitely. And with that, we are signing